The Lost Book of Enki, the sixth tablet. To create a primitive worker by the mark of our essence to fashion him, so was Enki to the leaders saying. The being that we need, it already exists, thus did Enki to them a secret of the Abzu reveal. With astonishment did the other leaders Enki's words hear. By the words they were fascinated. Creatures in the Abzu there are, Enki was saying, that walk erect on 2 legs. Their 4 legs they use as arms, with hands they are provided. Among the animals of the steppe they live. They know not dressing in garments. They eat plants with their mouths. They drink water from the lake and ditch. Shaggy with hair is their whole body. Their head hair is like a lion's. With gazelles they jostle. With teeming creatures in the waters they delight. The leaders of Enki's words with amazement listen. No creature like that has ever in the Eden been seen, Enlil, disbelieving, said. Eons ago, on Nibiru, our predecessors like that might have been, Ninmah was saying. It is a being, not a creature, Ninmah was saying. To behold it must be a thrill. To the house of life Enki led them. In strong cages there were some of the beings. At the sight of Enki and the others they jumped up. With fists on the cage and bars they were beating. They were grunting and snorting, no words they were speaking. Male and female they are, Enki was saying. Malehoods and femalehoods they have. Like us from Nibiru coming, they are procreating. Ningishzida, my son, their fashioning essence has tested. Akin to ours it is. Like 2 serpents it is entwined. When there, with our life essence, shall be combined, our mark upon them shall be. A primitive worker shall be created. Our commands he will understand. Our tools he will handle. The toil and the excavations he shall perform. To the Anunnaki and the Abzu relief shall come. So as Enki with enthusiasm sang, with excitement his words came forth. Enlil at the words was hesitating. The matter is one of great importance. On our planet, slavery has long ago been abolished. Tools are the slaves, not other beings. A new creature beforehand not existing you wish to bring into being. Creation in the hands of the Father of all beginning alone is held, so was Enlil in opposing saying. His brother responded, not slaves but helpers is my plan. The being already exists, Ninmah was saying. To give more ability is the plan, not a new creature, but one existing, more in our image made. Enki with persuasion said, with little change it can be achieved. Only a drop of our essence is needed. A grave matter it is. It is not to my liking, Enlil was saying. Against the rules of from planet to planet journeying it is. By the rules of to earth coming it was forbidden. To obtain gold was our purpose. To replace the Father of all beginnings it was not. After Enlil thus had spoken, Ninmah was the one to respond. My brother, Ninmah, to Enlil was saying, with wisdom and understanding, he, the Father of all beginning, us endowed. To what purpose have we so been perfected, else of its utmost use to make? With wisdom and understanding has the Creator of all our life essences filled. To whatever using of it we capable are, is it not that for which we have been destined? So was Ninmah words to her brother Enlil directing. With that which in our essence was granted, tools and chariots we have perfected. Mountains with terror weapons we shattered. Skies with gold we are healing. So was Ninruta to his birth-giving mother saying, let us wisdom new tools fashion, not new beings create. Let by new equipments, not by slave beings, the toil be relieved. Whereto our understanding does us lead. To that we have been destined. So was Ningishzida saying, with Enki and Ninmah he in agreement was. What knowledge we possess, its use cannot be prevented, Ningishzida was saying. Destiny indeed cannot be altered. From the beginning to the end it has been determined. To them Enlil was thus saying, destiny it is, or fate it is, that to this planet us had brought to gold from the waters foil, to put Anunnaki heroes to excavating toil, to a primitive worker create to be planning. That, my kinfolk, is the question. Thus with graveness Enlil was saying. Is it destiny? Is it fate? That is what deciding requires. Is it from the beginning ordained, or by us for choosing? To put the matter before Anu they decided, Anu before the council the matter presented. The elders, the savants, the commanders were consulted. Long and bitter the discussions were. Of life and death, fate and destiny, words were spoken. Can there be another way the gold to obtain? Survival is in danger. If gold must be obtained, let the being be fashioned, the council decided. Let Anu forsake the rules of planetary journeys, let Nibiru be saved. From Anu's place the decision to earth was beamed. It Enki delighted. Let Ninmah my helper be, of such matters understanding she has. Thus was Enki saying, at Ninmah with a longing he was gazing. Let it so be, Ninmah was saying. Let it so be, Enlil did say. By Inugi was the decision to the Anunnaki in the Abzu announced. Until the being is achieved, to the toil willingly you must return, he said. There was disappointment, rebellion there was not. To the toil the Anunnaki returned. In the house of life, in the Abzu, how to fashion the being Enki to Ninmah was explaining. To a place among the trees Ninmah he directed. A place of cages it was. In the cages there were odd creatures, their likes in the world no one had seen. 4 parts of one kind they had, hind parts of another creature they possessed. Creatures of 2 kinds by their essences combined, to Ninmah Enki was showing. To the house of life they returned, to a clean place with brightness shining they led her. In the clean place Ningishzida to Ninmah the life essence secret was explaining. How the essence from 2 kinds combined can be, he to her was showing. The creature and the tree cages are too odd. Monstrous they are, Ninmah was saying. Indeed so, Enki responded. To attain perfection, for that you are needed. How the essences to combine, how much of this, how much of that to put together, in which womb conception to begin, in which womb should the birth be given. For that your sorcerer and healing understanding are needed. The understanding of one who gave birth, who a mother is required. A smile on the face of Ninmah was. The 2 daughters that by Enki she mothered, she well remembered. With Ningishzida she surveyed the sacred formulas on the MEs were secreted. How this and that were done of him she inquired. The creatures and the tree cages she examined. The 2-legged creatures she contemplated. By a male inseminating a female are the essences transmitted. The 2 entwined strands separate and combined an offspring to fashion. Let a male Anunnaki, a 2-legged female, impregnate. Let a combination offspring be born. Thus did Ninmah say. That we have tried, with failures it resulted. To her Enki responded. There was no conceiving, there was no birth. Now this is the account of how the primitive worker was created. How Enki and Ninmah with Ningishzida assisted the being fashioned. Another way the admixture of essences to attain must be tried, Ninmah was saying. How the 2 strands of essences to combine another way must be found. That which from the earth is the portion must not be harmed. To receive our essence in graduations it must be shaped. From the Mies formula of Nibiru's essence only bit by bit could be attempted. In a crystal vessel Ninmah an admixture was preparing. The oval of a female 2-legged she gently placed, with Me Anunnaki seed containing. She the oval impregnated. That oval back into the womb of the 2-legged female she inserted. This time there was conceiving. A birth was indeed forthcoming. The allotted time for birth-giving the leaders awaited. With anxious hearts they results were seeking. The allotted time arrived. There was no birth-giving. In desperation, Ninmah a cutting made. That which was conceived on thongs she drew out. A living being it was. With glee Enki shouted. We attained, Ningishzida with joy cried out. In her hands Ninmah the newborn held. With joy she was not filled. Shaggy with hair all over was the newborn. His 4 parts, like of the earth creature, were his hind parts. Of those of the Anunnaki more akin they were. They let the 2-legged female, the newborn, nurse, with her milk him to suckle. Fast was the newborn growing. What on Nibiru a day was, a month in the Abzu was. Taller, the earth child grew. In the image of the Anunnaki he was not. His hands for tools were not suited. His speech only grunts and sounds was. We must try once more, Ninmah was saying. The admixture needs adjusting. Let me, the me's, assay, with this one or that me, make the endeavor. With Enki and Ningishzida assisting, they repeated the procedures. The essences in the me's Ninmah carefully considered. One bit she took from one bit she took out from another. Then in the crystal bowl, the oval of the earth female she inseminated. There was conception. At the appropriate time, there was birth-giving. This one more in the likeness of the Anunnaki was. They let his birth mother him suckle. They let the newborn to a child grow. Appealing he was by his looks. His hands to hold tools were shapen. His senses they tested. They found them deficient. The earth child could not hear. His eyesight was faltered. Again and again, Ninmah rearranged the admixture of the me formula. She took bits and pieces. One being had paralyzed feet. Another, his semen was dripping. One had trembled hands. A malfunctioned liver had another. One had hands too short to reach the mouth, and one had lungs for breathing unsuited. Enki, by the results, was disappointed. A primitive worker is not attained. To Ninmah he was saying, what is good or is bad in the being by trials I am discovering. Ninmah to Enki responded, to continue for success, my heart prompts me. Once more an admixture she made. Once more the newborn was deficient. Perchance the shortfall is not in the admixture, Enki to her was saying. Perchance neither in the female's oval nor in the essence is the hindrance. Of what the earth itself is fashioned, perchance that is what it is missing. Not of Nibiru's crystals use the vessel, of the clay of earth make it. So was Enki with great wisdom possessed, to Ninmah saying, perchance what is earth's own admixture of gold and copper is required. Thus was Enki, he who knows things, prompted her to use clay of the Abzu. In the house of life Ninmah made a vessel, of the Abzu's clay she made it. As a purifying bath she shaped the vessel within it to make the admixture. Gently into the clay vessel the oval of an earth female, the two-legged, she put. The life essence from the Anunnaki's blood extracted, she in the vessel placed. By the me's formula was the essence directed. Bit by corrected bit was it in the vessel added. Then the oval thus fertilized into the womb of the earth female she inserted. There is conception, Ninmah with joy announced. The allotted birth-giving time they awaited. At the allotted time the earth female began to travail. A child, a newborn, was forthcoming. With her hands Ninmah the newborn extracted. A male it was. In her hands she held the child. His image she examined. It was the image of perfection. In her hands she held up the newborn. Enki and Ningishzida were present. With joyful laughter the three leaders were seized. Enki and Ningishzida were backslapping. Ninmah Enki embraced and kissed. Your hands have made it, Enki with a gleamed eye to her was saying. They let the birth-giving mother the newborn suckle. Quicker than a child on Nibiru grows, he was growing. From month to month the newborn progressed. From a baby to a child he was becoming. His limbs for the task were suited. Speech he knew not. Of speaking he had no understanding. Grunts and snorts were his utterings. Enki the matter was pondering. What was done each step and admixture he considered. Of all that we had tried and changed, one thing was never altered, to Ninmah he was saying. And to the womb of the earth female the fertilized oval was always inserted. Perchance this is the remaining obstruction, thus was Enki saying. Ninmah at Enki's gaze with bewilderment was beheld. What in truth are you saying? Of him she an answer required. Of the birth-giving womb am I speaking. To her Enki was responding. Of who the fertilized oval nurtures, to birth-giving carries, in our image and after our likeness, to be perchance an Anunnaki womb is required. In the house of life there was silence. Words never before heard Enki was uttering. They gazed at each other about what in each other's minds they were thinking. "Wise are your words, my brother," Ninmah at long last was saying. "Perchance the right admixture is the wrong womb was inserted. Now, where is the female among the Anunnaki her womb to offer? Perchance the perfect primate worker to create. Perchance a monster in her belly to carry." So was Ninmah, with a trembling voice, saying, "Let me of Ninki, my spouse, of that inquire," Enki was saying. "Let us to her the house of life summon, the matter before her lay out." He was turning to depart when Ninmah put her hand on his shoulder. "No, no, Enki," she was saying. "The admixtures by me were made. Reward and endangerment should be mine. I shall be the one the Anunnaki womb to provide for good or evil fate to face." Enki bowed his head. Gently he embraced her. "So be it," to her he said. In the clay vessel the admixture they made, the oval of an earth female with Anunnaki male essence they put together. The fertilized egg into the womb Ninmah by Enki was inserted. There was conception. The pregnancy by an admixture conceived. How long will it last? To each other they wondered. Will it be 9 months of Nibiru? Will it be 9 months of earth? Longer than on earth, quicker than on Nibiru, travail came. To a male child Ninmah birth was giving. Enki, the boy child, held in his hands the image of perfection he was. He slapped the newborn on the hind parts. The newborn uttered proper sounds. He handed the newborn to Ninmah. She held him in her hands. "My hands have made it!" Victoriously she shouted. Now this is the account of how Adamu by name was called, and how Tiamat as a counterpart female for him was fashioned. The newborn's visage and limbs the leaders carefully examined. Of good shape were his ears, his eyes were not clogged, his limbs were proper, hind parts like legs, fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy like the wild ones he was not. Dark black his head hair was. Smooth was his skin, smooth as Anunnaki's skin it was. Like dark red blood was its color, like the clay of the Abzu was its hue. They looked at his malehood. Odd was its shape. By his skin was its forepart surrounded. Unlike the Anunnaki malehood, it was a skin from its foreparts was hanging. Let the earth from us Anunnaki by this foreskin be distinguished, so was Enki saying. The newborn to cry was beginning. To her chest Ninmah closely drew him. Her breast to him she gave, the breast he began to suckle. Perfection we did attain, Ningishzida with elation was saying. Enki at his half-sister was gazing, a mother and son, not Ninmah and a being he was seeing. A name will you give him? Enki inquired. A being he is, not a creature. Ninmah cast her hand upon the newborn baby. With her fingers his dark red skin she caressed. Adamu I shall call him, Ninmah was saying. One who like earth's clay is, that will be his name. For the newborn Adamu a crib they fashioned. In a corner of the house of life they placed him. A model for primitive workers, he was indeed attained, Enki was saying. Now a host of workers like him are needed, Ningishzida, his elders reminded. A model indeed he shall be, as for him, like a firstling, he shall be treated. From toil he himself shall be protected, his essence alone as a mold shall be. So is Enki saying. By his decree Ninmah was greatly pleased. Whose womb henceforth the fertilized oval shall carry, Ningishzida was asking. The leaders the matters pondered. Ninmah a solution offered. From her city, Shurbak, Ninmah female healers summoned. The task required to them she explained. To the crib of Adamu she led them, the newborn earthling to perceive. To perform the task is not a commandment, Ninmah to them was saying. Your own wish is to be decision. Of the female Anunnaki assembled, 7 stepped forward, 7 the task accepted. Let their names for all time be remembered, Ninmah to Enki was saying. Their task is heroic. By them a race of primitive workers shall come into being. The 7 stepped forward, each one, her name was announced. The names Ningishzida recorded. Ninimah, Shuzana, Nemada, Nembara, Nimug, Musarudu, Nunguna. These were the names of the 7 who by their own wish birth mothers were to be, earthlings in their wombs to conceive and bear, primitive workers to create. In 7 vessels of clay of the Abzu made Ninmah ovals of the 2-legged females placed. The life essence of Adamu she extracted bit by bit in the vessel she it inserted. Then in the male part of Adamu an insertion she made, a drop of blood to let out. Let this a sign of life be, that flesh and soul have combined, let it forever proclaim. She squeezed the male part for blood, 1 drop of blood in each vessel, to the admixture she added. In the clay's admixture, earthlings with the Anunnaki shall be bound. Thus was Ninmah saying, an indication she was pronouncing. To the unity shall the 2 essences of 1 heaven, 1 of earth, together be brought. That which is of earth, and that which is from Nibiru by a blood kinship shall be bonded. So was Ninmah pronouncing. Her words Ningishzida also recorded. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines, the fertilized ovals were inserted. There was conception. With anticipation was the allotted time counted. At the allotted time, birth-givings were occurring. At the allotted time, 7 male earthlings were born. Their features were proper, good sound they were uttering. By the heroines they were suckled. 7 primitive workers have been created, Ningishzida was saying. Let the procedure be repeated, 7 more the toil to undertake. My son, to him Enki was saying, not even 7 by 7 sufficient shall be. Of heroine healers, too much is required. Forever their task this way shall be. Indeed the task is too demanding. Slow beyond enduring it is, Ninmah to them said. Female ones we have to fashion, Enki was saying, for male counterparts to be. Let them know each other as 1 flesh, the 2 to become. Let them by themselves procreate on their own, the childbirthing make. The primitive worker by themselves give birth, Anunnaki females to relieve. The ME formulas you must change, from male to female adjustments make. So did Enki to Ningishzida say. For a counterpart to Adamu to be fashioned, in the womb of an Anunnaki female conception is needed. So did Ningishzida to his father Enki, in responding say. Enki at Ninmah his gaze directed. Before she could speak he raised his hand. Let me this time Ninki my spouse summon. With strong voice he said, if she is willing, let her the mold for the female earthling create. They to the Abzu, to the house of life Ninki summoned. They showed her Adamu. All that matters to her they explained. Of the task that is required they gave explanation. Of success and danger to her an account gave. By the task Ninki was fascinated. Let it be done, she to them said. By the me formulas Ningishzida adjustments made. By the admixture was an oval fertilized. Into the womb of his spouse Enki it inserted. With much care he did it. There was conception, and in the allotted time Niki was in travail. A birth there was not. Ninki the 9 months counted, Ninmah the months counted. The 10th month, a month of evil fates, they began to recall. Ninmah, the lady whose hand womb has opened, with a cutter an incision made. Her head was covered. On her hands protection she wore. With dexterity she opened. She made her face at once was brightened. That which in the womb was from the womb came forth. A female birth was given. To Ninki with joy she shouted. The newborn's visage and limbs they carefully examined. Of good shape were her ears. Her eyes were not clogged. Her limbs were proper. Hind parts like legs, fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy she was not. Like beach sand was the hue of her head hair. Her skin smooth was, as that of the Anunnaki, in smoothness and color it was. Ninmah, the girl child, held in her hands. She slapped her hind parts. Proper sounds the newborn uttered. To Ninki, the spouse of Enki, she the newborn handed. To be suckled, nourished, and raised. A name you will give her. Enki of his spouse inquired. A being she is, not a creature. In your image she is, and after your likeness. Perfectly she is fashioned, a model for female workers you have attained. Ninki cast her hand upon the newborn body. With her fingers, her skin she caressed. Tiamat, let her name be, the mother of life, Ninki was saying. Like the planet of old of which the earth and the moon were fashioned, let her be called. From her womb's life essence, other birth-givers shall be molded. To a multitude of primitive workers she, thereby, life will be giving. Thus was Ninki's saying, the others' words of occurring uttered. Now this is the account of Adamu and Tiamat in the Eden, and how they, knowing of procreation, were given, and to the Abzu expelled. After Tiamat in the womb of Ninki was fashioned, in 7 vessels of the clay of the Abzu made Ninma, ovals of the 2-legged females placed. The life essence of Tiamat she extracted, bit by bit in the vessel it inserted. In the vessels of the clay of the Abzu made Ninma, the admixture formed, incantations as the procedure befits she was uttering. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines the fertilized ovals were inserted. There was conception. At the allotted time, birth-givings were occurring. At the allotted time, 7 female earthlings were born. Their features were proper, good sounds they were uttering. Thus were 7 female counterparts for the primitive workers created. 7 male and 7 female did the 4 leaders create them. After the earthlings were thus created, let the females inseminate. Let the primitive worker by themselves offspring beget. So Enki to the others saying, after the allotted time, other offsprings will beget. Plentiful will be the primitive workers' numbers. The toil of the Anunnaki they shall bear. Enki and Ninki, Ninma and Ningishzida were joyful. The fruit's elixir they were drinking. From the 7 and 7 cages they made, among the trees they placed them. Let them together grow up, malehoods and femalehoods attain. Let the males, the females inseminate. Let them by themselves offspring beget. So they were to each other saying. As for Adamu and Tiamat, from the toil of the excavations they shall be protected. Let us them to the Eden bring over. To the Anunnaki therein our handiwork display. So was Enki to the others saying. With that the others did concur. To Eridu in the Eden, the city of Enki, Adamu, and Tiamat were taken. An adobe in an enclosure for them was built, to roam therein they could. The Anunnaki of the Eden came to see them. From the landing place they came. Enlil came to see them. By the sight his displeasure was diminishing. Ninruta came to see them. Ninlil did as well. From the way station on Lamu, Marduk, the son of Enki, also came down to see. It was a sight most astounding, a wonder of wonders it was to behold. Your hands have made it, the Anunnaki to the fashioners were saying. The Ajiji, who between earth and Lamu shuttled, were also all agog. Primitive workers have been fashioned, our days of toil to end. So were they saying. In the Abzu the newborns were growing. For their maturing the Anunnaki were anticipating. Enki was the supervisor. Ninma and Ningishzida also came. In the excavations the Anunnakis were grumbling. Patience to impatience gave way. Energi, their overseer of Enki, was often inquiring. For primitive workers the outcry he conveyed. The circuits of earth grew in number. Maturity of the earthlings was overdue. No conceiving among the females was observed. There was no birth-giving. By the cages among the trees Ningishzida a couch of grass for himself made. Day and night the earthlings he was watching, their doings to ascertain. Indeed he saw them mating, the males and the females. The females were inseminating. Conceiving there was not, birth-giving there was not. Enki the matter deeply pondered. The creatures once combined he contemplated. None, not one of them, had offspring begotten. By 2 kinds combined, a curse has been created, Enki to the others said. Let us the essences of Adamu and Tiamat afresh examine, Ningishzida was saying. Their me's, bit by bit, to be studied, what is wrong to ascertain. In Shurubak, in the house of healing, the essence of Adamu and Tiamat were contemplated. With the life essence of Anunnaki males and females, they were compared. Like two entwined serpents, Ningishzida, the essence is separated. Arranged like 22 branches on a tree of life were the essences. Their bits were comparable, the images and likenesses they properly determined. 22 they were in number. The ability to procreate they did not include. Another 2 bits of the essence and the Anunnaki present Ningishzida to the others showed. 1 male, 1 female. Without them there was no procreating. So was he to them explaining. In the molds of Adamu and Tiamat, in the combining they were not included. Ninma heard this and was distraught. With frustration was Enki seized. The clamor in the Abzu is great. Mutiny is again in the making. So is Enki to them, saying, primitive workers must be procured, lest the gold extracting shall be ceased. Ningishzida in these matters learned. A solution was proposing. To his elders, Enki and Ninma, in the house of healing, he whispered. They, all the heroes who Ninma were assisting, sent away. They locked the doors behind them, the 3 with the 2 earthlings alone remaining. Upon the 4 others, Ningishzida a deep sleep caused to descend. The 4 he made unfeeling. From the rib of Enki the life essence he extracted, and to the rib of Adamu the life essence of Enki he inserted. From the rib of Ninma the life essence he extracted, and to the rib of Tiamat the life essence he inserted. Where the incisions were made, the flesh therein he closed up. Then the 4 of them by Ningishzida were awakened. It's done, he proudly declared. To their tree of life 2 branches have been added. With procreating powers their life essences are now entwined. Let them freely roam as one flesh. Let them know each other, Ninma was saying. In the Eden's orchard to freely roam, Adamu and Tiamat were placed. Of their nakedness they became aware. Of malehood and femalehood they were knowing. Tiamat of leaves apron made, from the wild beasts to be distinguished. In the heat of the day, Enlil in the orchard was strolling. The shade he was enjoying. Without expectation, Adamu and Tiamat he encountered. The aprons on their loins he noticed. What is the meaning of this? Enlil wondered. Enki, for explaining, he summoned. The matter of procreation, Enki to Enlil explained. The 7 and the 7 had failed, to Enlil he admitted. Ningishzida, the life essence, examined. An additional combining was needed. Great was Enlil's anger. Furious his words were. The whole thing was not to my liking. For acting as creators, I had opposed. The being that we need, it already exists. So were you, Enki, saying. All we need is to put our mark on it, thereby primitive workers to fashion. Healing heroines themselves put at risk, Ninma and Enki were endangered. To no avail, it was all. Your handiwork was a failure. Now, the last bits of our life essence to these creatures you have given, to be like us in procreation, knowing perchance our life cycles on them to bestow. Thus did Enlil with angry words speak. Enki, Ninma, and Ningishzida summoned, with words Enlil to pacify. My lord Enlil, Ningishzida was saying, knowing for procreation they were given, the branch of long living to their essence tree was not. Ninma then spoke up to her brother Enlil. She was saying, what was the choice, my brother? To end it all in failure? Nibiru is doomed to face its fate. Or to try and try and try, and by procreation let earthlings the toil undertake. Then let them be where they are needed, Enlil with anger said. To the Abzu, away from the Eden, let them be expelled.